Okay, so if you're a homeowner here in BC, you've probably been keeping an eye on solar power, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe you felt like you missed the boat when that federal Greener Homes grant closed down.
Yeah, that definitely caused a pause for a lot of folks. People were asking, is it still worth it financially? Because solar works great here.
Yeah.
It was always about the dollars and cents.
Right. But here's the thing, and this is kind of the big reveal for today. The whole financial picture for residential solar in BC, it just got a massive overhaul. Almost overnight.
It really did.
Yeah.
And it's all thanks to BC Hydro stepping up with a brand new rebate program.
Exactly. And when you stack this new program with the incentives that were already there, honestly, the economics look better than they have in a long, long time.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
So look, if you've been kind of sitting on the fence, maybe thinking about cutting energy bills or, reducing your carbon footprint.
Or just wanting some energy security.
Precisely. Then this deep dive is definitely for you. We're going to unpack this new BC Hydro deal, figure out exactly how much money we're talking about, and basically answer the question. Is now the time to go solar in BC?
Okay, let's get into it. The old federal program, it was sort of a mix of loans, grants, a bit complicated maybe. You said this BC Hydro thing is different. How exactly?
Yeah, this is really key. It's simpler. These new provincial incentives, they aren't like future tax credits you have to wait for.
Okay.
And they're not complicated loans either. It's direct cash rebates. Money back in your pocket right away. That just lowers the upfront cost of getting the system installed.
That feels much more tangible, less risk upfront.
Exactly. It changes the whole immediate financial hit.
So what's the main number? The core incentive for the solar panels themselves?
All right, the primary rebate is worth up to $5,000. That's for putting eligible grid-connected solar panels on your roof. Straightforward cost reduction.
$5,000, okay.
But, and this is where you can see they're really pushing for energy resilience.
The battery part.
Yes. If you add a battery storage system and batteries, they're not cheap. You can get an additional rebate of up to $5,000.
Wait, so 5 plus 5, that's potentially $10,000 back? Direct rebate.
Up to $10,000, correct.
Yeah.
For installing both the solar panels and a battery system. It's a huge boost.
Wow, that really changes the math on adding a battery, doesn't it? Makes it much more of a strategic move rather than just a, nice to have backup.
Totally. It makes the battery pencil out much more easily. And to get this money, the main things are, you need to be a BC Hydro residential customer, obviously, and you need to enroll in their self-generation program.
Which, just for clarity, that's the new name for what everyone used to call net metering.
Exactly the same program, just a new name. It's basically the system that lets you connect to the grid, send power back, get credits, all that good stuff.
And presumably your solar installer helps you navigate that whole application process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any reputable installer, they'll handle the BC Hydro paperwork, the technical applications. That's usually part of their service.
Good. And we shouldn't forget, this new rebate sits on top of other benefits that haven't gone away.
Right, like the big one, the BC PST exemption. That's still in place. You save this 7% provincial sales tax on the entire system cost. Panels, inverter, racking, labor, the whole shebang.
And 7% sounds small, but on a decent-sized system, say $25,000.
That's what, $750 saved right there? Just from the PST exemption. Nothing to do with the new rebate.
So you're already looking at maybe $6,750 off before you even factor in the battery rebate.
Precisely. And then there's the financing aspect too. The market's responded. You're seeing lots of companies offering 0% interest financing, often with no money down.
Okay, so let's connect the dots. You get maybe maybe $10,000 back directly, save the PST, and you can finance the rest, often at 0% interest.
Right. And often the monthly payment on that financing deal can be set up so it's pretty close to what your old BC Hydro bill used to be, sometimes even less.
So you're basically swapping a variable, likely increasing utility bill for a fixed payment on an asset you own.
That's it. That's the core investment idea right there.
Okay, let's talk about the impact then. That initial $5,000 rebate, maybe $10,000. How does that crunch the numbers on the actual cost and, more importantly, the payback time?
Right, this is where the old calculations kind of go out the window. Before this rebate, let's say you were looking at a smaller system, maybe 4 or 5 kilowatts.
Yeah.
You might have been quoted somewhere between, say, $10,000 and $16,000. That's a pretty significant chunk of change.
For sure. And the payback on that based on saving on your hydro bill might have been, 10, 12, maybe even 15 years?
Easily. And that long payback, that was often the sticking point for people. It felt like a very long-term commitment.
Understandable. So what does the rebate do to those numbers?
Well, you knock $5,000 off immediately. So that 10K to 16K system, suddenly the effective cost drops to $5,000 to $11,000.
Yeah, that's a big difference. And for a medium-sized system, say 8 to 10 kilowatts.
Those typically ran maybe $20,000 to $30,000. Apply the $5,000 rebate, and you're down to $15,000 to $25,000. And that's before even thinking about the battery rebate.
Right. So the main point here is this seriously speeds up the return on investment. What does that do to the payback period itself?
It shrinks it dramatically.
Yeah.
You know, that old 10 to 15 year time frame, that often felt a bit risky if you thought you might move or need a new roof in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's largely condensed now.
Yeah.
When you combine the rebates, potentially up to $10,000 plus the PST savings, you're often looking at payback periods falling into the 7 to 10 year range. Much more palatable.
Wow. Cutting the payback time by potentially a third or even half, that completely reframes it. It moves solar from being just an environmental choice to a pretty sharp financial investment.
It really does. And remember, once that system is paid off after year 7 or 10 or whatever it is, the electricity it generates for the next, 15, 20 years, that's essentially free power. Pure savings or profit, depending how you look at it. Plus, it adds value to your home.
Okay, but the initial cost reduction is only part of the equation. The long-term value comes from actually using the system day to day, which brings us back to that self-generation program or net metering. How does that actually work to save you money? How do you sell power back?
Great question. It's actually pretty elegant, works in 3 basic steps. Step 1 is the simplest. Use your own power first.
Right. Sun shining, panels are making power, your house uses it directly.
Exactly. Your meter might even stop spinning or slow right down. You're immediately avoiding pulling power from BC Hydro.
Okay. Step 2. What happens if you make more power than you're using, like on a sunny afternoon?
That's step 2, exporting the excess for credits. That surplus power automatically flows out onto the BC Hydro grid. And here's the important part. BC Hydro credits your account for every kilowatt hour you send them, and they credit you at the full retail price.
Ah, so you're essentially selling it to them at the same price you'd normally buy it for.
Precisely. You're selling high, effectively.
Okay. And step 3 must be using those credits later.
You got it. Step 3, use your credits when needed. At night or on a really cloudy day when your panels aren't producing, you just draw power from the grid like normal. But instead of getting a bill for that usage, BC Hydro just draws down the credits you banked earlier.
So the grid acts like a giant battery for you, in a way.
In essence, yes. A very efficient, free battery.
Now, I heard there's a detail here about how BC Hydro applies those credits that actually gives you even more bang for your buck. Something about their tiered rates.
Yes. This is a really smart feature of the program and often overlooked. BC Hydro, as you know, has that 2-tiered rate structure. Step 1 rate is cheaper for your basic usage.
And then step 2 kicks in at a higher price per kilowatt hour once you use more electricity.
Right. Which, let's be honest, most families with EVs or heat pumps or pools hit pretty quickly each month.
Yeah.
So the brilliant part of the self-generation program is that when BC Hydro applies your solar credits to your bill, they apply them against the more expensive Step 2 usage first.
Get out. Really? So they wipe out your most expensive electricity purchases before touching the cheaper Step 1 usage.
That's exactly how it works. It maximizes the value of every single credit you earn. You're using your free solar power to directly offset the priciest grid power you would have otherwise bought.
That's huge. That really incentivizes generating as much surplus as you can in the summer.
It does. You want to build up a good bank of those high-value credits to carry you through the winter months when production is lower.
Okay, makes sense. But what if you're really efficient or have a big system, and after a whole year you still have credits left over? Did they just disappear?
Nope. That's where the annual true-up comes in. Every year on March 1st, BC Hydro looks at your account. If you have a credit balance remaining, they actually pay you out for it. Now, they don't pay the full retail rate you earn the credits at. They pay the lower wholesale market price for electricity. But still, it means no generated value is wasted, and some people actually get a small check from BC Hydro once a year.
Interesting. Okay, so that whole system sounds pretty good, even without a battery. Which brings us back to that extra $5,000 rebate for adding one. Why bother with a battery if the grid already acts like one through net metering?
Yeah, it's a fair question.
Yeah.
The battery does things the grid can't. two main things, really.
Right.
Optimizing your savings even further through peak shaving and providing backup power during outages.
Right. Backup power is obvious. The grid goes down, your lights stay on if you have a battery.
Exactly. Huge peace of mind there. But financially, the real strategic play is what you call energy shaving or peak shaving.
Explain that.
Okay, so during the day, your solar panels charge up your battery using free sunlight. You might still export some extra power to the grid too, but then in the evening, say between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m.
When electricity demand is high, and grid prices might be higher too, depending on future rate structures.
Precisely. Instead of pulling expensive power from the grid during those peak hours, your house automatically switches over and runs on the free solar power stored in your battery.
So you're deliberately avoiding buying grid power when it's most expensive, using your stored solar energy instead.
You got it. You're shaving off those costly peak consumption hours. And combined, a solar and battery system can often cover, into 95% of a home's total electricity needs over the year. Almost complete independence.
And that $5 battery rebate makes adding that capability much more affordable. I remember we looked at that case study, the family in the Fraser Valley with 2 EVs.
Oh yeah, that was a perfect example. They used the $5,000 rebate to help justify the battery cost. And now, they basically charge both electric cars overnight, every night, using the solar power stored in their battery from the day.
So they're essentially fueling their cars with sunshine, avoiding grid costs, especially those higher Step 2 rates. They definitely hit charging 2 EVs.
Exactly. That rebate became like a permanent fuel discount for them. It fundamentally changed their household energy economics.
Plus the backup power aspect, with BC weather getting, let's say, more interesting.
Yeah, having essentials like your fridge, furnace fan, internet, some lights stay on during an outage, that's becoming increasingly valuable for people. A Powerwall or a similar battery provides that security.
Okay, the financial case seems really strong now, especially with the rebates. But let's inject a dose of reality. Solar isn't necessarily the perfect fit for every single roof in BC, right? There are physical limitations.
Absolutely crucial point. You must get a proper assessment before signing anything. The rebates are great, but only if your home is actually suitable.
So what are the key things they look for? What makes a good solar candidate?
There are about 4 main technical requirements. First is roof direction and angle. South-facing is ideal, the gold standard for max production.
But what about east or west? A lot of houses have roofs facing those directions.
East and west are definitely viable now. Very common installations. You just need to understand they'll typically produce about 15 to 20% less energy over the year compared to a perfect south-facing roof.
Okay, so maybe you need a slightly bigger system to compensate.
Exactly. A good designer just accounts for that. They might add an extra panel or two, which, again, that $5,000 rebate helps make affordable.
Makes sense. Requirement number 2.
Roof condition. This is a big one. Solar panels last 25, maybe 30 years.
Right.
You do not want to install them on shingles that only have 5 or 10 years of life left. You'll just have to pay to take them all off and put them back on again when you redo the roof. So the roof needs to have at least 15 years of life remaining, minimum.
So if you know you need a new roof soon, do the roof first, then the solar.
Absolutely. Much more cost effective that way. Third is just available space. Do you have enough clear, usable roof area for the number of panels you need? Panels are roughly 1.1 by 1.8 meters, so you need a decent patch.
Okay. And the last one. You called it the deal breaker earlier.
Shading. Yeah. This is the absolute killer. Your roof needs to be pretty much free of significant shade, especially during the prime sun hours, let's say 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
From trees, other buildings, chimneys.
Anything. Even shade covering, just part of one panel, can seriously impact the output of the whole string of panels it's connected to. It's critical.
So if I'm getting quotes from solar companies, what's the one piece of proof I need to see from them about my specific roof before I commit?
You need to insist on seeing a detailed shade analysis report. A good company won't just eyeball it. They'll use software, often with satellite imagery, maybe LiDAR data, to model the path of the sun over your specific roof throughout the entire year.
And that tells you?
It tells you exactly how much shade impacts your roof, hour by hour, month by month, and allows them to give you a reliable estimate of your system's actual energy production. Never sign a contract without seeing that site-specific shade analysis and production estimate.
Got it. Okay, so let's pull this all together. For a BC homeowner looking at solar right now, you've got this powerful new BC hydro rebate, up to $10,000 potentially. You've got the ongoing PST exemption saving you 7%, and you've got 0% financing widely available.
Yeah.
It really does feel like a uniquely good time to make the switch. You're swapping that unpredictable hydro bill for essentially a fixed payment on an asset that produces value for decades.
That really sums it up. You're hedging against future electricity rate hikes, which, let's face it, are pretty much guaranteed over time by locking in your energy costs now. And after the system pays for itself in that shorter 7-10 year window, you're banking free electricity for a long, long time.
So for our listener who's intrigued, maybe thinking this sounds right for them, what's the single most important thing they need to do next to figure out their specific numbers?
Okay, while we've talked about the general incentives and costs, the only way to know the perfect system size for you and your exact potential savings and payback is to look at your history.
My past hydro bills.
Exactly. You need to provide a potential installer with, ideally, your last 12 months of BC hydro bills. Your unique electricity consumption pattern, how much power you use, and importantly, when you use it, that's what determines the optimal system design and your true profitability.
So digging out those old bills is the crucial first step for a personalized quote.
It's the indispensable next step. That's the data that turns all this potential into a concrete plan for your home.